Welcome to the end of August. There's Marco D'Amico. I am Shaun Starr. New episodes drop on youtube.com weekdays, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Support us by supporting our sponsors at littlebearonline.com, where I remind you, get 10% off your first order. Use that code ORDER1 now. They also have a subscription model and specials for the month of August. New sales every week. Check their website and their socials for more details. And of course, all varieties of food texture. Sometimes you may have a fussy cat, you may have a fussy dog. They get played out with the boring same old, same old. Little Bear and littlebearonline.com has all the options to, again, just make life and dinner and breakfast time a little bit easier for your favorite family member at home that isn't your wife or husband or son or daughter. Pets or families too. Little Bear Online knows that. Marco D'Amico, Shaun Starr with you weekdays at 10 a.m. right here on youtube.com. I'm going to give you some numbers, okay? I want you to tell me what player I'm talking about, okay? I'm going to give you monthly point totals for this player, his first 3 months and the last 3 months of his regular season. The last season the Canadiens are just coming off of. So this player put up points in the month, the first 3 months, 7, 7, and 7 for 21 points. Scored a combined 4 goals in the first 3 months of his season. The
How
last
many
3
games?
months, all the games. In the last 3 months of his season, 4, 13, and 5. This is an everyday player. 4, 13, and 5. Also scored 10 goals in the final 3 months. But the first 3 months, 21 points. The final 3 months, 22 points. Pretty consistent performances on the bookends of a season. Who do you think I'm talking about?
10 goals in the last Slav.
Correctamundo. Uri Slafkovsky, who's put up back-to-back 50-point seasons, and yet we still wonder about expectations into a new season, the first year of his brand new contract given out by general manager Kent Hughes. Where are we? Where are you when it comes to what type of season is Slav going to put up this year?
My expectation is 65 points. That's my expectation. That's what, if you're the Montreal Canadiens general manager, or if you're the Montreal Canadiens management team in general, that's where you expect him to go based on the contract that you've given, based on where you drafted him, and based on what we've seen so far. I think 65 points makes sense. And if you can find a modicum of consistency in those dog winter months, November, December, January, I'm quite sure that he would be able to attain at least 60 points. I think there was a stretch last season where Slafkovsky's play really dipped, and he was playing on the fourth line with Kirby Dach for about 3 or 4 weeks. And I think that really is where it sunk his season, because 4 or 5 extra points, in there gets a little bit more momentum, this and that. But I think one of the biggest issues to me was just the toll that this season took on him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I felt like the year prior, there was a lot of, what's the word I would use? Adrenaline to the fact that he was getting that success, right? And he pushed to get to 20 goals and 50 points, right, at the end of the season, because his bonuses and whatnot, he made an extra $250,000 because he scored that 20th goal in the last game of the season. So there's a little bit of that. And I just feel like this season, there was expectations. I feel like he was overused as well to a degree. I think that there was a little bit of a mental game to be played that requires a little bit of maturing for young players, which is totally normal. But where I would say cautiously optimistic in what I've seen from him, and so I can make a projection, was Uri Slafkovsky's best hockey came at the most important time for the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's the key. It's when the games got tighter. It's when first of all, the Canadiens, you got to give them credit. They had a rough end of schedule. And they were playing some tough customers. Obviously, the Chicago Blackhawks were not projected to be a tough customer, but they were. But there were a lot of teams in there vying for the same spots they were playing against. Like the Islanders were a team that they were matching up against. I think at one point that's it exactly. The Columbus Blue Jackets were in there, and so on and so forth. And so Detroit. I found Detroit exactly. So there were teams in there where I found had everything to lose, hadn't given up on the season, and here comes Uri Slafkovsky, just playing a true complementary power forwards game, and then that carried over into the playoffs. And I thought, for the top line, usually it's Caulfield and Suzuki, and then Uri Slafkovsky kind of follows. I felt like he was the one kind of driving the play a little bit more because everyone's eyes were on Nick Suzuki, right? Nick Suzuki was being punished in that series. And so it allowed a guy like Uri Slafkovsky, who has the size, has the extra second if he protects the puck properly, to make plays. And plays he made. And that's, I think, the key there is that when he has the puck and he is driving to the net with pace, he is great.
Mm-hmm.
The only two elements I questioned about Uri Slafkovsky are his shooting ability, and not because I think he lacks it, but I think it's more habit style.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing too. Yeah,
it's a confidence in his shot. And number two is his foot speed, his initial 2 or 3 paces.
mm-hmm.
If Uri Slafkovsky can reach a point where he can create what we call like average skater, like above replacement separation when it comes to skating, and he can distance himself a little bit more, or with a little bit more ease as he glides into the offensive zone, that will open up the ice for him in a big way and help contribute to more sustainable offense. And that's what the Montreal Canadiens have been pushing for him to do. And that's exactly what he's been working on this summer, are his shooting mechanics and that lower body explosivity. So if that is the case, and that is true, and I have every confidence that the information I've been receiving is correct, then I expect a much stronger season from Uri Slafkovsky, in a season where the wear and tear of the season might not pull him down as much as we've seen in the past.
I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. And I'm going to tie myself into this for a second, right? I've long believed that pro athletes that come into their sport that aren't these prodigy generationals, like the McDavids, the Mike Trouts, the Sidney Crosbys of the world, right? The Peyton Mannings of the National Football League, that there's going to be turbulence. And I think generally most pro athletes go through phases. Oh my God, I'm here. Can I do this? And then they get into the next phase. Oh, maybe I can do this. And then they go through the third phase and the final phase of, yes, I can do this. And I experienced this in myself, and I'm sure you have too, going, whether it's in your professional life or maybe you play some competitive sports still in your older years, right? Like, being comfortable in uncomfortable moments is a learned skill. Like, if you ever played golf, with your buddies, and maybe you're playing for 50 cents, how many times around would you say you get a legitimate birdie? Maybe you get 1 or 2. Are you not a little nervous every time? Oh, I got to make this putt. I don't want a 3 putt. I got to make this putt. I want to win this money. I want to beat my boy, right? The more you get in that situation, the more comfortable you will be in that situation. And I'm going to tell you why. And if you've watched this channel for a while, I've been very consistent. I believe in Uri Slafkovsky. I think it's a matter of time before this man busts out and can be that number 1 overall pick. And when I tell you about reps, getting comfortable in your own self-belief that you can do this, the fact that, yes, he did score 10 goals down the stretch, the fact that he did score 2 playoff goals in 5 games to Washington, but the numbers post 4 Nations break, right, where hockey was priority, winning was everything, promises, challenges laid at the feet of the captain. In 18 games since the 4 Nations, he scored 17 points, 15 at even strength. That's top 20 in the National Hockey League, and had 9 goals. That, my friends, is playing pressure reps. And that, my friends, is performing under pressure repetition. And he's done that
in Montreal
a few different times, Marco. And that's how I get to the point where I'm not worried about Uri Slafkovsky. The fact that he came in the league at the age that he came into and still did what he did, he's just getting started. And to me, there's enough proof that leads me to believe that the deal is a good deal. I don't think we're going to be looking back on this extension saying, what were they thinking, Marco?
No, I understand. I think with many deals, you just have to wait for that player to take the next step.
Yes.
I remember when Cole Caulfield signed his deal, there were some that were like, what are they doing? He's never even played a full season in the NHL, and here you are giving him $7.8 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's complaining about that contract today, as he scored, 35, 37 last year?
Yeah.
So is 65 points the first year, I believe, and I think 70 this year.
Yeah,
so
33
I don't think Yeah, I don't think anybody be complaining now. So that is the risk that you take when you sign these young players to what they
Yeah.
do. The other factor you have to take into consideration, whether or not you find it valid or not, is the fact that he has the draft pedigree of being a
Yes.
first overall pick.
Yeah.
That will always play into it. I
Always.
mean, listen,
Always. I
you
agree.
look across the border to a certain New York team known as the Buffalo Sabres. The contract that they signed Owen Power to, I don't think he signs if he's in the first overall pick. You know what I'm saying? It's a projection.
Yeah.
And
Right.
sometimes those projections don't work out. Like I don't think you can look at Owen Power's play so far and say that he's worth his contract yet. He will probably be worth his contract as soon as this season
Sure.
with a little bit more room to maneuver. But ultimately, I feel like you're taking a gamble that eventually, at some point down the line, he's going to be worth that contract, either because the salary cap is going to go up so much that his cap percentage will shrink,
Yeah.
or he is going to develop in a way where he is already worth that contract at the moment of signing or shortly after, or both. And so that's the mindset of general managers that are banking and paying for potential, because more often than not, they hit.
Mhm.
Very few contracts we've seen signed where they don't hit that potential. I think one of them was Alex Wenberg in Columbus, where he was eventually bought out. I think another one, this is probably going to make Canadians fans chuckle, but Jesperi Kotkaniemi, right? I
Sure.
don't think he's hurting anybody at 4.85 million,
Well,
but I don't
yeah.
think, yeah, it's it. I think the Carolina Hurricanes thought they were getting a deal,
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
I think your Slafkovsky is the one that got the deal.
And
You
the other thing too, you talk about maybe your projected point total, maybe gets that 65, 70 points, right? Like,
60, I think he's in the 60, 65
well,
range
let's just
this
go
year. Yeah.
65. Let's just go 65. Let's give him 14 more points, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'll give 7 more points to Nick Suzuki. I'll just split the difference. I don't know how many more. I'm just, I'll give him 7 more. He'll be
I
responsible for 50%. I mean, now we're talking about Nick Suzuki in the low to mid 90 point threshold if everything carries over year over year.
yeah.
I mean, I know it's a
Yeah.
fan. I'm going to make a fanboy take here, but oh boy, oh boy, like the Canadians
Yeah.
have the real potential. Like Cole Caulfield, 70 plus points, Nick Suzuki, low to mid 90s, Demidov. We'll see. I'm very optimistic. I don't want to put a number on the guy today, but
Yeah.
like, oh boy,
Even
Marco, like let's get
yeah,
excited
even
here.
that young man, even if Demidov gets to 60 points, that's a
Oh,
fantastic rookie
oh
season, right? Like
yeah,
you're not even
I'm
you're not
superstitious.
even.
I'm
Yeah,
superstitious.
so like knock on your wood if you have to, but like that's
Right.
a fantastic outcome, right? So it And so whenever you get to a situation where you have all these younger players that are kind of elevating at the same time, like
Yeah.
the one thing you've said in this section where I'm a little skeptical is Nick Suzuki in the mid 90 range.
Well, again, how many? So how many
And
of the 14 more
the
points
only
is Nick
reason
responsible for?
the only reason I'm saying this is because down the stretch, Nick Suzuki was used on both power play waves. I don't think that's going to
Wow.
happen anymore.
Are you a
Nick
Nick
Suzuki
Suzuki
was,
hater?
oh my God, seriously? All right. Some of us painted him as a winger for a second or third line
Yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
the Canadians traded for him. Very few saw him as a top six seed. So yeah,
Absolutely.
no, not a Nick Suzuki hater,
Yeah, yeah.
but definitely just someone who can see the situation and just say, hey, listen, he may not be given the same offensive utilization, which was extremely favorable. And
Right.
if you're the Montreal Canadiens, would you rather a primed and ready Nick Suzuki for the playoffs, or do you want him to be gassed like he was this year?
No, no, no.
Right.
Again,
So
everybody
if
has
I'm
to.
if voilà. So if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, or if Montreal Canadiens fans are kind of in on this, you would rather have arrested Nick Suzuki, who's ready to make noise in the playoffs, but got 85 points instead of 95. Right. Like that's the trade off. That's why sometimes you see players score 100. But then as they start getting competitive and really starting to focus on the playoffs, they take the schedule a little easier towards the end. And instead of being at 100 points, they're at 87, right?
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal because you're a little bit more ready for the goal, and the goal is the Stanley Cup. Once you're comfortable in making those playoffs. But the thing is, the Canadians were chasing the playoffs. And I think that's the
Hard.
cooler part when you're looking. Yeah, tell me about it. It was
Yeah.
when you're evaluating the situation, when you're seeing a guy like Uri Slafkovsky, because when Uri Slafkovsky is going to be in a situation where they are chasing still into the early spring for a playoff spot, will he be at the same level? And I think, this year they'll have the benefit of the Olympics, though Slafkovsky, bearing again injury, is going to
Yeah.
be in Milan representing Slovakia.
Yeah.
I feel like the rest of the players that aren't going to go are going to be nice, primed, and energized. So I'm very interested to see how the Olympic schedule impacts Uri Slafkovsky and if that will impact his play. But he's going to be playing prime minutes for his country as well. First line
Correct.
utilization when he was 17 at a world championships. So I have no doubt that he'll be on that top line.
It'll be
And
interesting. The
how
Canadians
is
have a
that
few
going to
guys.
impact this? Yeah,
Mhm.
well, a few guys. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
But all I
Suzuki.
say is, oof,
Mhm.
that's I'm going to stay
Montembeault,
away from that.
Slav,
Yeah,
Caulfield, Hudson, Dobson.
yeah. Well, again, we'll see how the season
Yep.
starts for them. But what I will say is, I would be very interested to see the impact that another Olympic
Mhm.
performance could have for Uri Slafkovsky.
How are the Montreal Canadiens gonna follow up their miraculous berth into the playoffs last year? How are they gonna do it, right? Breakout performers is the answer to the question. I mean, obviously, you need the guys that did the heavy lifting to do more heavy lifting this
Mhm.
upcoming season, but they need breakout performances. Who are those guys likely to do that? Aha! That, my friends, is the question. The answer to that question comes at you right here on youtube.com tomorrow. Hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell so when a new episode drops, as it does every day at 10 a.m., you're not going to miss it and you're going to be on top of it. For Mark D'Amico, I'm Shaun Starr. Thank you for being with us today. New episode tomorrow at 10 a.m. Habs breakout performers for this upcoming season.